Thank you, Caroline Alonso. And this was an incredible moment. It was really good to go way up high with her. Now we're going to reflect together. We talked about the situation, like Sea Shepherd. We're going to see Paul Watson in a moment in order to wind up this 24 hours of meditation. But there's a two-pronged question. What can you do in the States? We talked about the common house, the need to change the legal system for these entities. And last year, work was done on a new statement for humanity, a new declaration for humanity. We're going to talk about the rights and duties of humanity. Corinne Lepage has just joined us, and Eric. We're going to go back with Patrick and Corinne, what happened during COP21, because you had the statement on humanity. Corinne Lepage, good evening. This declaration, this new declaration, which you have been working on to redefine a new framework, how could it change anything? Well, we're all human rights defenders and human rights and we see that we're now dealing with subjects that require a collective and not an individual answer. That's why the President of the Republic asked me to work with a group. I didn't do this all by myself, on what could be a declaration on the rights and duties of humanity to establish our responsibility as people and interdependence with environment, including the oceans, of course. This work has been done, has been presented, but not discussed at COP21 because there wasn't enough time to discuss it. It was deposited on the office of Mr. Ban Ki-moon 6 weeks ago, so it could be studied by the United Nations, and the COP22 in Morocco is interested in working on it. Well, what could you do? Well, let me be very clear. This is not a binding treaty. It's a declaration, but the Universal Declaration of 1948 is only a declaration. It's not a convention, so it's not binding. It was not obligatory. Universal Declaration. But in international law, you can use it as a custom. If we manage to get this declaration amended or adopted by the various countries in the world, that means that before the courts, we have a tool that could be used in order, at least a moral value, perhaps the translation into legalese, what our responsibility is to the living species, to nature, and the future generations. Well, in this declaration, which is available, well, you can download it on the site. It's called Declaration on Humanity. What's the strongest element in it? You can find on the internet. We were talking about certain duties, not only related to the climate, not only related to the ocean, but also the way technological progress is managed. This is very progress in technology must be the progress for humanity and not for something else. There are obligations of this type. There are also obligations as concerns access to common goods and the protection of natural resources, the rights of the living beings in a healthy environment. This is a right that we must take as a duty. This is not a constricting document, but it is a new framework. Step one in 10, 20, 30, 40 years, I won't see it, younger people maybe, leading to a convention, and convention will really consolidate obligation. So what we're talking about new obligation between governments. I'd like to stress that there's no contradiction between human rights. It's complementary to human rights. The integrity of the person, political and social rights still will be applied. But once again, we want to attack the question of the preservation of the ocean, responsible behavior by people and human communities. You have to go beyond individual human rights and talk about collective obligations. So the recognition of collective duties is also new. That is, we have to. We have to do something intergenerational and between the North and the South. We have to work at the intergeneral level. That is, he who is coming forth, those who, as of now, cannot defend themselves. Thank you, Corinne Lepage, for coming and joining us and for doing this doing something along this line. This morning, there was a feeling of despair. Well, the subject is in the hand of everybody. We are the civil society that have to push to get this through. And if we don't push, it'll put on a back burner good ideas that are left to wilt. We're counting on you to continue pushing it forward, because this is what you've been doing steadily since December, and we're very pleased that it's gotten as far as the office of Mr. Ban Ki-moon. We will take a look at the site. Thank you very much for coming. Do stay with us. There are all sorts of things that are going to be happening this evening. Patrick Vivray. As concerns the commitments to be taken, there's a macro commitment, there's the individual commitment. Something happened at COP21, which called the Sermon of Paris. What was this Sermon of Paris? It was a founding moment for what? Well, an awareness of certain actors in the world civil society, that if we really want to get things going, we need to have some actor intervene on the world scene completely. There's a de facto governance of which is the financial oligarchy, and there's another governance, it's the economics of crime, and then you have and for reasons that Corinne just mentioned, we're not able to really narrow down the idea of common goods or public goods. When you take a look at the Earth from way up above, you see the oceans and the fragility of the atmospheric layer. Well, people are only interested in their territorial waters. We need a global actor to come on the scene, and that this person, it's not only a civil society, but a civic society. It's an alliance between the part of the civil society that fully is really aware of public goods and doesn't work on a sectoral basis, even though this might be justified, asks questions globally. And the part of the political institutions that are ready to change their authority and their powers, thinking that and electricity to renewable, and then you have the part of the dictatorship on journalists who have to serve communications, and then those who are fighting for a pardon, and the economic actors that are ready to become socially responsible and accountable before society. In other words, we're talking about the civic society as a world civic society. We didn't just ask. We went to the sermon of the jeu de paume, that is, people who will commit themselves and say that for themselves. These are the commitments we accept personally and collectively. Well, that's what's interesting. The two levels of responsibility and sermon. People taking a sermon individually and for the institutions they represent. But we're not only talking about the relationship between the local and the higher level, we're talking about a planet-wide level. And Jean-Pierre Gouze said this morning, we can be in a blue or in a black cycle. This depends on our personal life. What is the commitment that we make that gets us out of the state of depression and fatalism? And we say life is too beautiful to leave the responsibility blindly to others. That means that we will be going toward headed toward the black century rather than the blue century. At Porto Alegre, it was PTTS. Personal transformation and social transformation together must be thought as being complementary and not contradictory. What can take us out of this feeling of what is the fuel that you need for your civil energy?
First of all, what we have already done here, the time we have spent here, which has been great at this 24 hours of meditation, there were three key words. There's wonderment. Again, we have experienced this, and it is fundamental because we can reach a level, a caliber of trust. It's not just mental knowledge. It's these profound internal convictions which enable us to understand the urgency we face. But we also have to feel this wonderment, this extraordinary privilege of living on this planet, which is a miracle, and to feel that we're like living this adventure of the universe. Being conscious of this is this reasoning of wonderment, which leads us toward full consciousness. It's not just this mental, rational knowledge. It's the deep conviction and the fact that we know that we're privileged. That'll give us energy for the second element, which can overcome resistance. As Paul had said, there's anger. We have to say it's unacceptable. Last year, here at this 24 hours from meditation for the earth, there was Edgar Morin, and it had been said that this whole thing of the tax paradises, again, the Panama Papers, we've seen this. This is just unbearable that the blood of our societies be money. Water is the blood of our societies. So the alternative between water and money, that is what will form or be the basis of this indignation. And the third element is this commitment being fueled by this wonderment and this creative resistance. In all our social groups, in all our professions, in our work, we have to say, what is the essential? In my life, what is essential to this consistence of what we have experienced? What is futile, useless, and even dangerous? So we have to look at our own conscience, our own political consciousness. It is this democratic stake par excellence. We have to come back on things and look at things. We feel that benefits cannot just be funds, profits. We have to talk about what is beneficial to societies. It's not just all about money. There's a loss of values. And of course, values means life forces. When an ecosystem is destroyed or people working are suffering, and this is having other consequences, these are real losses. These elements come together, and they are at the heart of this because you talked about the fuel. Spinoza spoke of the alternative between joy and sad passions. There's the energy within the wonderment, which is the source of this creative resistance. And this will means that we will, in our personal lives, decide to change things. This is the best of antibodies because it is what will enable us to resist the existence of the glory of power. Because, in fact, joie de vivre, happiness to be alive, is what should be fueling us. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. We do have a lot of joie de vivre here. People are definitely happy to be here. We know what we have to do. We felt amazed, we were angry, and we feel the commitment. This, let's say, work site of humanity, is there something we can rally around here? Well, I think there are several points around which we could rally that come to mind. The first, on the 2nd and 3rd of July in Lyon, we have these meetings for humanity. We have these humanity dialogues in Brazil, Africa, in other areas of Europe and India. So the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of July, there's this first meeting, this rally. We will take up all these commitments and issues. And there is the World Social Forum to be held in Montreal from the 9th to the 14th of August, which will continue these prospects. And in France, on the 24th of September, we have the Days of Transition in 200 cities in France. There's the issue of the great transition to cease the use of fossil fuels, which is what is leading us to this depressive state, to turn toward creative sources of energy. Thank you, and thanks to both of you.